All right, we're going to move on to News of the Geek. Andy, we got a couple of News of the Geeks. We're going to cover the biggest one. This is probably going to make our show go a little bit long in the tooth.
Yeah, that's fine.
Back to the old days. Me and you got tragic news this week that one of our favorite podcasts, Yeah, It's That Bad, is going dark. Not just going dark, Andy. They are gone.
Yeah, everything got ripped. It's basically a bad movie review podcast. Hosted by, basically, if you imagine the three smartest Jersey Shore competitors ever, that were friends basically for their entire life. It was a movie review show, and, you know, they were a good
Joel Martin.
3 years in.
Hey, I'm Kevin.
Yep. And, it was super funny. It was edited fantastically tight. Actually, listening to this show really made me kind of try to up my game on doing the shows that I edit for the Geek Insomnia Network. There's our first reference. Whoops. That was supposed to be in the open of the show. Forgot about that. But, it was a really funny bad movie review show. They would just take movies and just rip them apart, but do it in a hilarious and still somewhat constructive manner. And they released their last episode on Tuesday, and then immediately afterwards, the RSS feed got ripped down, and there was little to no explanation of why. The initial thoughts was that they were getting patent trolled by the podcast lawsuits that are going around, and they just got a little too big for their britches. But the host confirmed.
When they were obviously...
They confirmed that wasn't true.
Maybe the patent trolls took it seriously that the Yeah, It's That Bad headquarters was really a spaceship
orbital space station,
orbiting the Earth. And, they didn't really understand that it was just a couple dudes recording this podcast in a 150 billion degree apartment.
Yeah.
So the patent trolls didn't listen to that part and just started suing like, oh my God, if they have a Death Star, they got to have money.
So, this is kind of a sad thing, and I really don't know how to speak of it because you and I both really enjoyed that show. But the fact of the matter is, we can mention it. It's called Yeah, It's That Bad, but you can't really find it anymore. I mean, they literally went dark. They ripped down their RSS feed. There's still some episodes on YouTube, and some fans of the show have uploaded archives to SoundCloud and things like that. But it just got completely removed from the internet. And that was the thing that really upset me because, I listen to a ton of podcasts, like I've mentioned several times, and I've never had one go dark on me. And this really felt like I was losing a friend. I was legitimately sad about this.
Yeah, as far as doing a podcast, I've been listening to Yeah, It's That Bad since probably episode 20. When we were with Warcast, I did an article on some other podcasts about movies, and they were at the top of the list. One of my favorite podcasts to listen to for the last couple years.
Yeah.
And for them to go dark, it's kind of like, why am I even doing a podcast? If these guys have their shit together, what makes me think I can do something something close comparable to them? Yeah, It's That Bad is a great podcast. It's one of the reasons why I love podcasts is because you don't have to be a big and famous person. You can put out a quality product that is better than 90% of the stuff that's out there, including us. I mean, I would say to our listeners, go find these SoundCloud RSS feeds or where these people have uploaded them and get these episodes while you can. They're fantastic podcast.
Yeah, they're great. And they're one of the few ones that are outside of kind of the Hollywood industry that I listen to. I mean, these guys were not comedians. These weren't actors. This was just three dudes who were really fucking funny when they were interacting with each other.
They weren't trying to further their career. They just got together and, you hope that you're that funny when you're talking and hanging out with your friends. And that you're having that good of a time because every time you listen to their podcast, they were able to pull off a movie that wasn't that interesting and make it interesting and make it fun. Me and my wife were talking about, Yeah, It's That Bad, going dark, and I was talking to her, I was like, the only reason why I even watched the Twilight series was because of Yeah, It's That Bad. I cannot even stand it on any level, but whenever I listen to the Yeah, It's That Bad podcast, I want to be on the inside with their jokes. I want to fully understand what put them on their backs laughing so hard about the Twilight series. and be in on that joke like if they were my buddies.
Yeah, and that's kind of the feeling that I think we're trying to go with this show, too. That, you know, if you're listening to it, you'd probably like to be in the room or at least on Skype with the two of us. And those guys pulled it off better than any show I think I've ever heard. So it's a shame that it's gone. I mean, I felt like I've lost a friend. So that's...
Yeah, it's a weekly, you know, I told you, I was like, I wouldn't listen to them for like a month or two, so I could intentionally have about 16 hours of awesome listening and just burn through them like I did Dexter or Oz and things like that, because I love listening to those guys talk about movies at a level that I don't think most professionals can. And you don't feel like they're trying to further their career and they just have a podcast out there. They're like, you know what? We love this. We love movies. We know we got the chemistry for this. And for me, from episode 1 on, it's on the money. It's great. And it's a shame that they're not around anymore.
Yep. No. Yeah, there was a lot of speculation. Their Facebook page is still open, and there's been 300 some odd comments on their most recent episode. They haven't revealed a whole lot of information other than saying that it wasn't a patent troll lawsuit. What I pretty much think it is that, you know, one of them worked for a company that was like, you know, everybody has to be off social media, and they just had to yank everything. Because otherwise I don't understand why they would have pulled their entire archive.
To put out their opinion like that on something. I think it has to be... one of them has to be with like a PR or advertisement company, something to do that they got a little bit of backlash. One thing I will say, I'm looking at some of the Facebook comments, and it's pretty awesome. Everyone's just like, how tragic it is.
I'm on there a couple of times. You can find me around post number 60.
They made some shirts, and I love the shirts because they say, yeah, it's that bad on them. And I'm like, wouldn't that be awesome if I was single and I was going out to a club or going out to see some bands, and I had a shirt that said, yeah, it's that bad. And it's like, the girls would be just like, oh, really? you got to advertise how bad you are.
Yeah, it's that bad. And an arrow pointing down.
If you're willing to make that dive, I forewarned you.
So it could end well. All right. So, yeah, that was sad. That's kind of the end of friends that I've never met and never will meet. And it's kind of a shame. So, what you going to do, though?
I'm going to add one more thing. I think Braindark says something really well in the chat. It says, if you become a fan of any talk radio show, you feel you know the host. Yeah. And when you lose that contact, it's like your best friend moving to an area without internet. And I assume the talk show talking about podcasts and things like that. And that's what's really awesome with the podcast community, is that, you know, you do a show and you hope people like it and you hope people listen to it, but it's just normal folks trying to say, hey, I got an opinion. Yeah, maybe every asshole has a podcast, but you know what? My listeners are my listeners, and there may only be 100, 200 of them, but they're mine, and they love it.
Yep.
Or they hate it, and they're planning on killing me.
Hate watch.
Yeah. All right, so that's enough sadness. Let's